Iliana, thank you so much for joining me. So we're here because of the South Bay Guitar Society, and today is March 13th, 2021. And on March 20, 2021, you're going to be doing a live stream concert with the South Bay Guitar Society. So we have an opportunity here to talk to you and get to know you before the concert. So Iliana, you've performed all throughout the entire world, right? You've performed throughout Latin America, throughout the United States, throughout the West, throughout Europe, throughout Asia, right? And today you're the professor of guitar at the University of Lethbridge in Calgary, in Alberta. And so I like to start from the beginning because we all have different ways that we came to the instrument, the guitar. Can you start a little bit with what was Cuba like and how that was? Because a lot of us in the West have no idea what happened in Cuba and that kind of thing.
All right. Hi. First of all, I would like to say that it's for me it's a really honor being able to perform in this difficult time that we are having, right? And virtually for the Guitar Society, which I already performed for them 3 years ago, and I feel really honored that they pick me between so many artists around the world, right? So it's been a great honor for me, this concert. Thank you very, very much. So thinking on my beginning in Cuba, we are talking about 40 years ago, even more, 50 years ago, because in Cuba, music education started really early. And we have a system, our education system is based on in the Europe system, which is 8 years before joining the university or when you do your bachelor degree. And so I did that. I first started at the age of 11, and I graduated in Cuba from my bachelor degree on 1991. So, but we are talking about the 70s. So that was now it looks far away, but I have to say the world probably have changed so much from them to this time, but I think we were privileged in Cuba to have this the education system we had in that time, which provide all the students really deeply a knowledge on music. Also, the tradition in classical popular music that we have in Cuba made a profound impact in my career as a performer. And since the very beginning, I have to say my first approach to the music was to the popular music. I first learned piano, Cuban tres, bass, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and I used to sing and play different instruments at the same time that I was singing in a different children's band. So that was the first started my first approach to with music, and then after 2 years doing this enjoyable time, just enjoying music, like a game it was for me. In a festival, we in Cuba used to have in that time many children festivals where children just sing and play popular music, and I was kind of the conductor in the orchestra. I was singing, playing the electric piano, but also I conduct the band. So someone in the jury thought that I had some talent for music. That person was actually a flute player who was teaching at the conservatory in Guantanamo, my city of birth. And she approached my mom and she told my mom that I should learn music formally, right? And then at the age of 11, I started classical guitar. And yeah, and I think since then, despite that my first passion was piano and other instrument, I would say another kind of music, because I already didn't have any background on classical music. I didn't know what classical music was in that time. I as soon as I started learning classical guitar and I played the first etude and first pieces, small pieces, I just fell in love with classical guitar. And since then, it was so easy for me to decide what I want to be in life. So since I was a child, I knew that I want to be a musician. And part of that is I think that the Cuban system support that idea on me, because I started learning music at the conservatory, and then it was 8 years. Then I went to the university. I did my bachelor degree. So it's my whole life living music, right?
And Iliana, last time we spoke, that you're talking about a passionate moment when you discover the guitar, but there's also very harsh moments, because you said you had Russian professors. And can you talk about that? How they're so strict, right? It's about perfection. Can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, part of what I mentioned before, that I was lucky to be to be born in Cuba and at that time, because in the politic relationship between Cuba and the Soviet Union at that time, which were communist countries, they have a international threat that when Cuba gave them some product we had, like sugar, tobacco, etc., and they gave us oil, gas, and education too. So many teachers, amazing musicians, emigrate to Cuba just looking for, I guess, better weather and better status also, because teachers who used to go to Cuba to teach there, then they got a good job with payment, a house, some freedom compared with the Soviet Union, right? But the hard part for us, or for me, I won't talk for others, but I would say for me is that I was a kid and I just wanna have fun learning music, playing instrument, whatever. But people from Russia is a different culture. They have beautiful characteristic, like they are very passionate about anything, but also very, very strict. And when I after 3 years starting music, I switched from my elementary school music to the middle school. I got a teacher, solfeggio teacher, who make a revolution in the whole conservatory with the system she had. So I remember the whole conservatory, everybody making line to practice solfeggio, to get a practice room with piano, because it was so hard. And I would say, for me, education was really something like I had fun learning math or whatever at that time, but that was just different. And because our system was so strict, we are not, we weren't allowed in that time to, not passing any course. You need to, otherwise you cannot continue at the school. You have to, no option, no choice, no choices, right? So it was very stressful. I remember myself practicing more solfeggio, ear training, all the stuff solfeggio include, than guitar. So yeah, it was a kind of sweet a bit experience, I would say.
What do you think solfege does? Because I also went through a similar thing. My teachers weren't as strict as the Russians, but I was strict enough with them, and I also saw really great musicians. Oscar Ghiglia, I also saw Lorenzo Micheli. They could solfege like crazy, and that inspired me. I said, even if my teacher doesn't expect me to solfege at a high degree, I try to force myself to do it. What do you think solfege does for a musician?
A lot, a lot. It's just, I'm trying to teach here, to bring my system, my Cuban Russian system, to my student in Canada, because I think it make a great difference in the way you approach music. So if you analyze what our brain is doing when we play an instrument, our brain is making many coordination between hands depending on the instrument you play. Our hearing is working also visually. Yeah, we are working too, but if you learn the notes that you are playing, then I would say it's like a perfect union between body and mind.
I know what you mean by that. I think it gives you a language that you can speak about. There's something for me slow about saying ABC. It's, for me, it feels better to say do re mi. It just feels better.
Yeah, well, the difference, now that I'm teaching with the American system, this is ABC, is that they don't make intonation. They don't do intonation when they do solfeggio ABCD with that system. But on solfeggio, we do intonation. So you can start, and it's what I do. As I learn any piece, and while performing, I'm singing on my head. So that is the best way. Also, the perfect concentration that you can get, you can have, is if your brain is busy uh, uh, naming the notes. But also you can, if you say, do, mi, fa, fa, mi, re, Marieta, right? By Tárrega. If you only think like a, how I say, C, F, F, E, E. There is no musical intent on that. But if you sing, you feel it, and the result is totally different on how the music you get in the guitar. And I think that is because music before instrumental was just vocal. And what the instrument did at that time, in the beginning of the origin of the music, it was imitating what the human voice did, right? So yeah, I think that solfeggio is, for me, is fundamental, essential. Yeah.
I agree with that. I won't be ashamed to say I even went to the bathroom with solfeggio, practicing the solfege, like showering and trying to think the solfege. Yeah, I agree. It has a deep impact on me, and even teaching little kids, it has a deep impact too.
Yeah, and I was taught in the way that since the very beginning, the first year, I play from memory. Yeah, but it's easy when you have something to say in here. I noticed in North America that the students have really hard time memorizing. For them, it's challenging memorizing. And I think this is the reason why. Well, I would say that I don't regret having the education I had. No, it was hard, but because of that, now I am the musician that I am. I can tell you that when I first came to Canada, and I didn't speak any English at all, zero. And after how long it was, 4 years that I did my best, and still my English is broken, but it's improving, and I can communicate. I got a job at the university. So why that? How that can happen when you have many Canadians speaking perfect English, right? And with good education, here we have a really good level. Many good guitarists here. So it's not that I came to a country when the guitar is so low level that well, I got the job because there is nothing better than me. No, and especially, you know, that teaching at the university level, usually, and in that university too, they ask for doctors. I have no PhD at all. I have a master that I did in Spain, but I have a career, 35 years by now, performing, and 30 years teaching. So I think that was something, the education I had. It was so important, so strong. That is what made me successful over my whole career.
Can we, since you brought up Canada, the other day we were speaking, you said you also spent some time in Spain. So can you retrace for us how you started in Cuba, then Spain, then Canada?
Well, I was living in Cuba until 1995. I left. The reason why I left is because, okay, I got graduated. Now what can I do in my, in my country? There it was so no chance to develop because we wasn't in that time. Now Cuban people can travel and everything is different, but in that time we weren't allowed to travel. It was really hard. The politic was so strict, and it was. So I fortunately we had that big festival that Leo Brauer used to do in Havana, and every 2 years, la creme de la creme, I would say, came to Cuba, right? So I had the opportunity to listen the best player in the world just in my country, in Havana Festival. And so I knew what was going on around the world. Leo Brauer used to bring to Cuba also editor from all the more important magazine, classical guitar magazine, like Gendai guitar in Japan, the Cahiers de la Guitare in France, classical guitar in London, with in that time, now classical guitar is American, but yeah, we had Colin Cooper in Cuba many times, the principal editor from the classical guitar magazine. Yeah, so I knew we had information about what was the guitar world, right? And that was my dream. I had the dream to be able to travel, to become a professional guitarist, and then in that time, because we didn't have the opportunity to travel freely, I went to Venezuela for a competition, a Lirio Dia competition, and I didn't come back to Cuba. So I escaped. And I lived in Venezuela over 3 years, and then my dreams always was Spain. And living in Spain, I went to Martinica because there was a festival with Leo Brauer, Robert Vidal, the guy from the radio and the festival in Radio France, in Radio France, in very famous festival at that time, and all the great people, Broadway, French were there playing. And then I met Sharon Isbin, was teaching there, playing concert, and I won the competition, and she told me, and she offered to me a full scholarship for the Juilliard School. And then I had to, in mind, I was in the way to preparing my trip to Spain, because I was preparing myself economic, right? And I really wanted to come to study with Sharon, which was a great inspiration. You know, it's the time when not many years ago, Leo Brauer dedicated to her the Black Decameron, and I was just in love with it. But my English was zero. And she told me, the only thing you need to do is just to pass the TOEFL exam. So I started studying English in Venezuela, but I noticed that, I don't know, it was so hard. I didn't make any progress. No, it was so hard, like something, I was blocked. Something in my brain didn't understand, it didn't work. So I thought, well, the United States also is a dream, starting with Sharon Isbin, but it's not practical. I won't get there anytime soon. I won't make it happen. So I got an invitation for a festival in Spain, and then I went to Spain with a couple of small tours, good payment, so that allowed me to start and have a good beginning in Spain, I would say. So that's the reason how I manage where to live, and where, you know. And then I made my decision. I went to Spain, and I stayed there for 20 years until I came to Canada, right?
That's okay. That's inspiring story though, because I didn't know you went to Venezuela. Did you have any contact with El Sistema when you were in Venezuela?
No.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Do you mean the Sistema is the orchestra? Yeah, that it was very popular in Venezuela, and actually I ended up working for the government. So I worked in 3 conservatories in Venezuela, and I have to say, it was in that time. We are talking about 1995, 6, 7. the American dollar was the Bolivar was very strong. 4 Bolivar, $1. And there in that time there were a lot of festival over the whole country. We used to have Alirio Diaz touring in Venezuela, despite that he used to live in Italy by that time. So, and many international artists in Venezuela. It's just that I had the dream, the Spanish guitar, going to Spain. Yeah, it was something very important. I dreamed since I was a child, right?
When the first time I heard Alirio Diaz play, I died. I could not imagine that this music could sound so beautiful. And can I ask you about who some of your maybe musical, but also guitar inspirations were?
I would say, the time I started and I learning music in Cuba, because the economic situation, we were a really poor country, and we didn't have access to recordings and many things. So I didn't grow out listening Andrés Segovia, for example, despite that Andrés Segovia visited Cuba before the communism system, right? And but I remember the first CD that I heard, and I just was like, what is it? I can't believe it that it was Manuel playing the Villalobos etude. That was just something, and it was something that risky, because Manuel Barrueco in that Cuba wasn't allowed to be hearing his CD and everything. No, we weren't allowed to talk. We didn't talk even about Manuel Barrueco. Yeah, because he left and his political position, etc. But his sister, I was, by that time I was studying music in Camagüey, which is in the middle of the island, and his sister, I guess, was living there, and a friend of mine was Manuel Barrueco's sister friend. And that was the connection, how I got to listen Manuel Barrueco recording. And that was, I'm talking about, I was 15 years old or 16. That was the first time that I said, wow, I want to play like this. What I have to do to be able to play that. And still I have that memory, that sensation, and then I have many teachers in Cuba. I moved to Havana, and I had a teacher who really inspired me. The biggest influence on my career, on my education, I would say, which is Jose Angel Perez Puentes. Is a guitarist, a conductor, a composer. Yeah, and he, for example, he introduced me to at the age of 16 to Renaissance music, Baroque music, and contemporary music. He opened my idea about music. He was responsible to teach me how to analyze a fugue, how to memorize all the voices. It was amazing. And since I started starting with him, my level just went up, because his influence on my learning process. It was incredible how I improved in just 2 years. And then I went, being in Havana, I went to the festival, and then is when I first heard David Russell, who, after Manuel Barreto experience when I was 15, and now I'm talking about probably on my 20s, it was just something I cannot describe. I cannot describe what I felt. I just knew that this is what I'm gonna do.
When I picked up David Russell's Barrio CD in some little CD store in Taipei, that changed my life. That night, my life changed, because yeah, I remember very distinctly. And I had the Segovia something, I had John Williams, I had Julian Bream, I had probably Eduardo Fernandez, some CDs, but something about that Barrio CD changed my life.
I would say by the time I was studying at the Havana University, doing my bachelor degree, which was when I first met David Russell. I knew him, and by that time I heard two of his best CD ever. He has so many, but I think those two, the first Baroque CD and the 19th century music, and that it just was amazing. And then I remember I went to Mexico in 1920 for a Manuel Ponce competition. I won the competition and I got money. And what I did, I bought many CDs. I went to Cuba with full of CDs, and I bought those two CDs by David Russell, and also I discovered S.A.R. brothers. It was another extraordinary influence in my life. But then I was lucky enough that the same year David went to Havana. So, but you know, the CD are amazing still. Yeah, 30 years later, it's just perfect. It's just amazing. There is nothing you can say about that he's playing at that time. I think so. I challenge anyone. But seeing him in a person concert, I have to tell you, he played so many beats. Encore piece, how many? I don't know. It was crazy. He played El Carnaval de Venecia as a encore piece. It was crazy. The entire theater, the National Theater, was just, it was a standing ovation, something crazy. And then I got into his master class, and it was just, yeah, amazing.
What did he say in the master class? And what did you play? What did you play?
I played 2 masterclass for him. Well, actually, 1 masterclass and 1 private lesson. I played Bach the first time, and he just gave me a vision of Bach that I didn't have at that time, and made me think. And it was really, really important. And then I had a private lesson that he was so generous, because, you know, well, people here don't know, but Cuban people in that time, we weren't allowed to enter to a hotel, for example. And I talked to David, please, I need a private lesson. I just begging. I was begging him, and he said, well, but this is so hard because you cannot enter here. But I pushed so much that he took the risk, and he talked with a hotel manager, and they allowed me to go to his private room. And he was there with his wife, Maria Jose. And then he taught me Rondo #2 by Dionisio Aguado. And I would say in the masterclass was really great, but too much polite. But in the private lesson, it was when he really impacted me. Because I remember that passage when you have on C major on third position, and I couldn't open, my finger 2 and 3, always busy. And he told me, look, you have a beautiful personality as a musician. You are one of the stronger musicians I have heard, younger guitarists, but you need to clean up your technique. Until you do that, you won't be able to express yourself. How you can do that? Anything, build your phrases if you are just fighting with your finger. And that was really because for me, he was God. And I trust him. And that was the beginning on when I first started, because I was very, have to say, lazy. I didn't like technique, practicing. No, I used to practice 1-2 hours. And when I won Manuel Ponce competition at the age of 21, I didn't practice too much. I remember it was a really hard program, or hour and a half, 3 sonatas. I used to play Ginastera Sonata, Tedesco Sonata, Violin Sonata #1, transcription, a transcription I did, and many Ponce pieces. And anyway, but I didn't practice too much. I just practice when I want. But that, methodic way of practice, what I teach to my students today, no. I hate it. But after David Russell experience, I started thinking, okay, so playing is something totally different from practicing guitar. So let's see what is going on in my hand. And what's the beginning? It took me a while rebuilding my technique, because by that time, I as I mentioned, I used to play the hardest repertoire possible at that time, and with great musicianship, but with those tense hands, right? I think just my natural skill made possible that, right? Playing that kind of repertoire.
You said the same thing to me too.
I see.
Yeah, it was what was it? The fast movement from the G minor sonata by Bach, right? And within the first 2 measures or something, bzz, 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 many buzz.
Yeah.
And he was so polite in the master class in the same way. But somehow he was being a gentleman and being very surgically precise about how to criticize me. And like your experience, I had to rethink my approach. It's like, okay, I have to respect, I have to be humble. I have to respect all the mistakes that I'm making. I have to respect Bach. And he's right. He's right. If the notes suck, the music, it's Bach. It doesn't work. So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. What about other musicians, in the violin world, or the symphony or conductors? Do you have any?
Well, I would say in Cuba, when I was studying my bachelor degree, I had many Russian still teachers. My music history teacher was a Russian guy who used to make just oral exams, nothing written, just talking. Let's talk about Rachmaninoff. Let's talk about Mahler. Could you please sit down and play at the piano the second theme in the Beethoven Symphony 8, for example. Yes. So I had also, for example, a choir director who used to be the Bolshoi Theater choir director. I had a chamber music professor. She's a viola player who was the assistant from the famous viola teacher at the Tchaikovsky Conservatory. And the other staff, the Cuban teacher, mostly all of them went to Russia and studied in Germany and Russia. So it was so strict. And still, you know, in music history, we had to make recognizing composer, and that was a really important part of your grading. So again, while doing my bachelor degree, I was in the line, you know, to just listening, because we had to listen all the important composer in music history, from Renaissance to 20th century. But I have to say, my passion is Russian music, Russian composer, Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, and then later Prokofiev, Hachaturian, all of this. I love this kind of music. Yeah.
This is where I get jealous, because we will never have music as beautiful as the Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto.
Yeah, the number two is just,
you cannot. It's too much.
Yeah.
I will always be jealous. But then I think I'll also be grateful that I never have to learn it, right? But yeah, I know when I have a bad day, Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto number 2, even number 3, gosh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, because you spoke about the listening exam, today it's so easy to find this music. Back in the day, right? For me, it was going to a CD. For you, it was probably going to a record in some old library. You had to take a bus for 3 hours.
No, well, we had a library at the university with a gramophone recording all of the greatest version. Yeah, but we had a big line for that to be able to listen in those recordings.
But I mean, if you're a student today and you're in the history class, and your job as a musician is to learn the great repertoire of the past, so that you know, it's like, I think of it as like, so you know who you are, you know what you respond to. But it's so easy today because you can find it in half a second, but it's harder for people to do now. And why do you have any ideas why that is?
I don't know. I have to say, you know, I always teach my students about my experience, because I think today everything is so easy with technology, right? I can tell you something, one funny story. When I remember I played for Costa Coccioli a master class, and I was playing the fugue, prelude and fugue number from the suite, Bach suite number 2 in A minor. And I played the, exposition, the development, and I didn't come back. And he said, so are you not gonna play the 2? And I said, no, I finished. And the truth is, it's funny, that in that time we didn't have the opportunity to make copies with a photocopy. We had to write down the whole program, and for some reason I forgot the double dog, so I learned it like that way. See, and today, they have, the new generation have everything. The best string, the best instrument, support from their government, from their parents, great teachers. Because the generation that is teaching now is had an evolution from the generation I had as a teacher, right? So, but sometimes when you have everything so easy, it doesn't motivate the same way.
Let me change to a slightly different topic, because your program, you're going to play some music by Hector Ayala, Barrios Mangoré, right? Our favorite. Eduardo Morales Caso, Leo Brouwer, he's a legend, of course, Eduardo Martin, and Tárrega. But you have an entire album of Eduardo Martin's music. And can you share with us a little bit about your relationship with Eduardo Martin?
Well, I knew Eduardo from Cuba when I was doing my bachelor degree. He was a professional guitarist by that time, but I never had a closer relationship with him. It was years later when I left Cuba. One day I was living in that time in Spain, in Barcelona. I lived in Spain over 20 years, different city. I lived in Madrid, in Barcelona, Salamanca, in the West, Extremadura. Anyway, while living in Barcelona, one day I was just walking in the street in Las Ramblas, the famous Ramblas, and suddenly Eduardo and I met, just by coincidence. Oh, and right, we ended up, drinking wine and tapas, of course, Spanish tradition. And then he told me that he was writing a lot of music for solo guitar. I knew, what I knew from him is that he had write a piece for guitar quartet, because he had a guitar quartet in Cuba with Ray Guerra, Wilfrido Dominguez, and I'm missing the third component. But anyway, and it was a professional guitar quartet that they actually play in Havana Festival. And being part of this quartet, Ray Guerra asked him, why don't you write something for our quartet? Because he was very good doing transcription and making arrangement of Cuban traditional music, right? And that's why he started writing music for guitar. But years later, probably 10 years later, when I met him in Barcelona, and he told me, no, I have a lot of music. So we met again, and he gave me the music, just like a book like this. And but that time I already won the competition in Spain, the La Infanta Doña Cristina, which is the Madrid competition, more together with Francisco Tárrega, the two most important competitions at that time in Spain and probably in the world. And I was touring sometime in Europe and also in Spain. I tour in the Balearic Island and over Spain. And I remember, when you are on your 30s, you graduate, and you are doing competition, a strong competition. What program do you play? You play Chacón, you play a bass suite, you play Rodrigo. I used to play Tres Piezas Española, Invocación y Danza, Sonata Ginastera, Tedesco, etc. And more, that was my repertoire. But I had many times happened to me that after playing my concert, people approach me. Some people sometimes approach me and ask me, "Don't you know any Cuban song or something funny?" Because that, it's so serious, the European music. And at the beginning, I felt like, oh, why? I didn't like it, right? I didn't accept what the audience was telling me. And but after some couple of years, hearing the same, people approaching me, and one experience really funny. It was in Mallorca. After winning the Andrés Segovia competition, I had a tour for all the islands, and I remember, playing that hard repertoire, Prelude, Fugue, and Allegro, Tres Piezas Españolas, etc. At the end, a man approached me and he told me, "Don't you know the Spanish Romance?" I was like, "What?" Yeah, so, and then that impacted me because in some point, I thought, well, why people want that music? Where is that people? And then as I started playing in festival, knowing guitar societies, and I noticed that the audience on festival are just regular people. They don't know anything about guitar, about guitar repertoire. They like music in general, and they want nice music. And also, they were familiar with the European tradition music, right? So they expect someone from Cuba, from Latin America, playing music from our countries, and then that's why. And I was in that time when I met Eduardo, and he gave me his book with many pieces, and I said, well, I think that I will learn a couple, and he gave me also a CD playing himself, the whole thing, more than an hour of music. And I listened and I said, well, I will learn those three. More rhythmic was Son del Barrio. It was probably the first piece by Eduardo Martin. Thinking on my audience, because also by that time I started touring with the Instituto Cervantes, which is an institution from the government which promote the Spanish language over the world, Spanish tradition, including music. And I touring in Africa area, yeah, Europe in the East, and yeah, and I noticed that I had requests for this kind of music, and that so Eduardo just appeared again in my life by coincidence, but in the perfect moment. So I immediately started learning his music, and oh, that's good. And when I played the first time, I played Son del Barrio. The three pieces that I'm playing in this concert and the 20th for the South Bay Guitar Society, the response from the audience was just incredible. I didn't expect that, and it's what I wanted from the audience after playing my chacon. So that was the beginning, and when I noticed that his music, people anywhere in Europe, Africa, wherever I went, I played his pieces, and people just love it. I thought, well, this is the time. I need to record a CD. And also I was looking I was trying very hard to find a recording label, and I record a couple of demos playing classical repertoire. Nobody asked me, answer to me, and then I thought, well, let me try something different, and I record a demo, 15 minutes music from Eduardo Martin music, and I send it to GSP, Guitar Solo in San Francisco, and I didn't know him, but he listened. I mean, I didn't know the owner, Dean Kami, and he just fell in love with the music, and he said, you know what, I'm going to Frankfurt, Feria, how would say Feria? This big showcase in Frankfurt. And he used to, every time that he went to Frankfurt, we was by that time every year, he used to go to Spain and buying Spanish guitar, bring to his store in San Francisco. And he told me, I wanted to make an audition with you. So I wanted to play for me what you record. He wanted to be sure that I play the way I record. And then I played for him. We met, and I played for him and our music. And he said, okay, we are going to record this music. Yeah.
And so that is Angels in the Street.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was that came out when 2008, 2007?
Six, yeah, in December or something like that.
Did you record in San Francisco, or did you record in Europe?
In San Francisco, yeah. And he Dean record, was a producer and sound engineer, so recording engineer. He did everything, yeah.
It's because Dean has been around the industry since the beginning, right? He's the owner, Dean Kamei, the owner of Guitar Solo. Yeah. And for the audience, yeah. And so of course he's heard everything. He's heard everybody play grand solo and blah blah blah. Right?
Exactly.
So he wants, and so yeah, I mean, he was the one to record Paolo Berenati and Marco Pereira. Yeah, you can tell he's getting tired of this old repertoire, and he's looking for something different.
Yeah, and he emphasized that to me. He told me, "You're Cuban. You're Cuban. You need to play and record Cuban music because you can do it better than someone else. You know that this is your root, and that's the truth. Cuban music for me is just natural.
For me, the reason I have not played any Cuban music other than Leo Brauer is because Rene Izquierdo scared me. He said I think he was teaching Guajira Mi Madre, and he was the student that was playing it was playing the rhythm incorrectly, and then so Rene started doing the rhythm, and then I said, I don't know, I thought to myself watching the master classes, I don't know what he's doing, so I'm never going to touch this music because I don't get it. It's not in my blood. I'll pass. I'll play some other stuff. So I get jealous when I watch that video of you and Rene playing the Baila.
Hasta Alicia Baila.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because I still don't understand what the rhythm is, so I just appreciate it.
Well, this is a guaguancó. It's a traditional rhythm which comes from Africa, right? Yeah, but since we Cuban people, Cuban musicians, we grew up just listening to that music. This is, I understand Cuban music before learning. Before I had my first teacher explaining me syncopation, I knew how to do it. Just in my hearing.
And that's why I will always be jealous.
But you know what? Syncopation is not hard. It's just subdivision. If you can 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1D and that. My first Cuban solfeggio teacher teaching Cuban music. He used to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So how you connect, you can, and then you pronounce the first, the 1, and the 4. For example, you wanna do pam 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 pa 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 pa. This is it. And I have to say, being in Asia the last 5 years, frequently, and I where the Eduardo Martin music is very popular, people love it. I have to say, I had a student in Japan, in China, and Taiwan, and no problem at all. It's just a division. So it's just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just that, and then connecting. Right?
And it's true. The Latin American music in Asia, it works so well. It's sometimes better than the Bach Chacon, you know, that kind of stuff. Too serious, right? Too depressing. Now, I want to ask one more thing about, maybe can you share a little bit about your ideas about education, or, you know, now that you've been teaching in Canada for so many years, and can you give some idea about your philosophy or your values in education?
Well, first of all, I have to say, in this day that the world is changing, globalization, right? And we were talking before about how the student who have everything, I don't think that is making easier for them. In my personal experience, I have to say education changed my life. And that is something very important. I think the society need to emphasize more the importance on the education. I was born in a small town in the province of Guantanamo. My town was like a sugarcane farm. So we didn't have pavement in the road. We had one public television where the whole town, we used to go there to watch television. So we were very, very poor. But my education, the education that I had, changed my world. So I think education make a great impact in people's life. It's huge, the difference when you have a good education or no. In my case, you know, for someone like me, who grew up in a sugarcane farm, you know, and that I didn't know what classical music was when I was 8, 9 years old. And now I'm touring the world. The only continent that I haven't is Australia. But other than that, yeah. And I teach over the world. So that is what education gave me. The huge change the life which the education provide me is so important, because if I wasn't able to have the education I had, what my or how my life looks like, right? So it's so important. And now that the young generation have accessibility to access to almost everything, right? And now with this COVID crazy time, even more, because we are, you see, we are performing, teaching masterclass, everything online. You know, how you can go, how expensive is if you want to go to Europe for just one festival. And now they have the opportunity they have everything online. This is so, but I think it's the society, the approach to education. There is something there that is not working.
And can you talk a little bit, because you're a powerful woman and there aren't that many women guitarists. And earlier you spoke about Sharon Isbin, and right, she's a very powerful woman as well. And do you think it's important, the role of the woman in the world of classical guitar?
Well, I think in general, for me, I would say haven't been easier at all, because I am a woman, right? I can tell you I don't have kicks. I made my choice, or guitar or kicks, right? So I could tell you many no encourage experience from that machismo status, which is what our society is. But I think today more women are involved and fighting for our right, especially for the new generation, right? It's important, yeah. Have a voice in the society. And I think we have voicing now more than ever. Still, there is a long way ahead until we have the same right. We got the same payment that a man with the same status or whatever. And yeah, but it's society history, right? But I would say kind of optimist about that, because things are changing for better. I think so.
And changing quite rapidly.
Yeah. Lately, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Iliana, I want to finish with some, I hope, simpler questions. Okay. Questions from the audience.
Okay.
So Melody was asking, what are some good steps to get over performance fear?
All right. That is a $1 million question, right? I have to say, I can speak for myself only. I'm a very nervous person. I never, ever, I have been the best concert I have done. I have been just quiet. No. For me, performing is really, really challenging. Probably because my education, when I would say I grew up in a family where my mother, because it was my mother raised me, and she expected that I should be perfect. I should be the best. She was very competitive, and I think that for a children is no good. It's no good. So I had that memory. It's so strong in my personality that when I perform, when I'm going to perform, there is that attitude that the child, the little Iliana, that need to be perfect, and that is so stressful, right? And I manage my nerves, and how is technique. I have been working a lot on that, over 20, 30 years. Because in some point at the beginning of my career, when I was doing many competition in Europe, I won some good, important competition, but I lost other. I can tell you, I was in the last round in the Tárrega, and I didn't make it. And someone from the jury later told me, you were with the, when you got the final round, you were the #1 in numbers. And that happened in another competition, 2 or 3 competitions. So sometimes when you have too much pressure, you cannot be yourself. You cannot show your job, what you really know, because you are so stressed, so tense, so nervous. So how I manage that? Well, I do meditation, for example. It's important. I have been working on that for many, many years. So trying to change my mind, yeah? Because that emotional memory I have from my childhood, which is with me forever, is still there. But at the same time, I focus more in the music. So I focus. I think I found that focusing, being able to focus in something specific things like a note, because you know the brain is really tricky. Our brain is always thinking something. It's a think machine, right? And if you have the thought, you are performing, for example, and you are good, but you are just playing from muscle memory, and you have the audience in front of you. You are aware that you have your audience and you need to be perfect, and that is a really tough situation that doesn't help. But if you can focus on something specific, like a singing notes, then you can avoid focus on the what is going on around you, and it's the way I can control my nerves. And for me, it's very important how I memorize, how I learn the music. So I use all, I just memorize everything. I can, if even when it's fast. If I play Zapateado by Rodrigo, while I play, my brain is singing. Mi, do, si, sol, mi, re, do, la, si, do, mi, fa, sol, fa, sol, la, sol. Yeah, so it's what I do. I focus on that, and that is the way that I can avoid negative thoughts or my fear to come, it's the way I overcome nerves. And preparation. So preparation means everything is perfect. I mean, you do your best, everything is clean, no techniques problem. You have also everything clear in terms of musical intent. You know what dynamic you wanna do. You know what finger you do. I memorize right hand, finger, everything. So when I perform, my brain is just a machine focusing in all of my body, all the things that are involved on performing. And that is my best advice for everybody. And meditation also is good because, when we have those thoughts that make us feel fear, that feelings, we have feelings because, or we feel because our body have chemicals. And through meditation, you can clean up your body from those, I would say, negative thoughts, negative feeling. And then it's like restarting the system from scratch, and that is good. It's something that I have to do every single day.
Do you have a routine for when you do it? After you wake up? Yeah, when do you do it?
Yeah, especially at the beginning of my day.
Mm.
Yeah, it's important for me. Yeah, after, because I teach many hours. So, and every student has different stories, difficulties, conditions. So, and I'm really passionate. I'm very, very passionate about teaching. I love teaching. I can stay the whole day teaching. Actually, I do. In time, I teach 10 hours daily. But I need at the beginning of my day, you know, do my meditation, starting my day just feeling good, no stress. Everything is, life is beautiful, you know, and I will do the best of me to my student. And for me, it's important how I can help the students I have to be better, to be the best they can be. That is my goal, always as a teacher, right? And I need to overcome my own story to be able to focus on other people, right?
I think for Melody, it will be very reassuring to hear that someone like you still gets nervous and that you still deal with it on a daily basis. Because
Well,
you've been doing for so long.
yeah.
You've been doing so many competitions. And at least for me, a competition is much harder than performing, because it's, you know, it's a different kind of performance. And it's going to be, I think it's very nice for students and you know, amateur players to hear someone as powerful and as professional as you still get nervous.
Yeah, that is life. We are human beings, right? And doesn't matter if we do mistake. The sun is gonna be there. The sky is gonna be there. Life continues.
Okay, let me try a simpler question. Yeah, I was stupid to think that that was a simple question. Okay, Dimitrios, he asks, here's a simple question. Can you tell me about your strings and then your guitar?
Oh, a string. Well, I while living in Spain at the beginning, I used to play Contreras guitar, cedar. And I remember when the first uh, or the other string which are not nylon,
Carbon, titanium?
carbon,
Okay.
carbon. When S.A.R released the first carbon string, Robert Vidal brought it to Cuba. And at that time, I had a guitar not good enough. And you know, if you have a cedar guitar and you set up a carbon string, it helps a lot. It sounds louder and more clear, brighter. So since I tried carbon string in Cuba in the 90s, and I left Cuba and Venezuela and Spain. Once in Spain, I bought Pablo Contreras, Manuel Contreras song guitar, and still because I like cedar, right? My earring in South America, we say that time mostly everybody plays cedar, and my earring wasn't used or feel comfortable with the tone with spruce guitar, right? And then I continue. I use carbon carbon string. Oh my, like probably 15 years or something. Yeah, 15, 20 years. I would say 20 years or more, even more. It was just a coincidence. I just switched to nylon string couple of years ago because when I moved to Lethbridge, Lethbridge is a small town, they didn't have carbon string in the store, Long and Macquarie, and we only have 2 stores in the whole city. selling musical instrument and things like an accessory, right? So I found myself that I don't know why I used to buy my string by mail, order from here, but I don't know why I forgot that I had concert, and then when I was to change a string, I noticed that I didn't have. And I just went to the store in town, and they didn't have. And I said, well, I need to change it. Let me try this nylon string. And yeah, and then I got the Dadario, and it's what I use is that. And when I tried the nylon string, I said, why I was playing carbon strings so long? Because the timbre is not that rich like it's just that I got, when you do competition in that time, and still I think there is one thing that is important. Play forte. So you wanna your guitar, and I remember everybody playing with Fleta, Frederick, Smallman, weight guitar. And that's why I use carbon, because carbon helped me, on competition, especially in competition. But now, when I was in that situation, just relax. Okay, let me try this. And I tried that area after 20 years, I think so, using carbon string. And I noticed, oh my, so beautiful, the timbers, so warm. I just, no more carbon string. So yeah, I use nylon and normal tension also.
I didn't use carbon for that long, but maybe it was for about 2 or 3 years. And then some of my teachers complained, and I didn't listen at the time.
Yeah.
I was even quite stupid. At one point, I thought I would treat guitar exercises like a workout. So at one point, for a very short while, a couple months, I had La Bella extra hard on my guitar. And that was so stupid. But anyways, I did that anyways. And now I use the Dario normal.
Yeah.
And so you're still playing the Contreras?
No, I changed after 5 years or something. I changed to Marin, Paco Marin. Yeah. Yeah, because something happened, living in Spain, my hearing, where they play basically a spruce, is more popular than cedar, and being in Europe, my taste changed. And at some point I wanted just more clear sounds, tone,
For me, it was something like this. For a long time, I was playing the fancy the guitar with the neck, the raised neck, and the newer style guitars, and I was getting tired of it, but I didn't know I was getting tired of it until one day one of my adult students came in. He said, "Hey, I just bought this 1971, 72 Ramirez 1A. He bought it on eBay for $3,500. And he said, why don't you try it?" And I tuned it for him, and I fell in love with that instrument immediately. And then all of a sudden, I wanted to play S.A.R or Giuliani again. I could not play this repertoire on the modern guitars. And then began my own search for Ramirez. And luckily, I found one in San Francisco. Somebody sold it on Craigslist. But when I finally got it, my feeling was, oh, this is why I fell in love with guitar in the first place. Because all those years ago, when I was listening to Julian Bream and Segovia play this, that was what I loved. And then I went away from it, chasing this louder volume, this raised neck, all this stuff. And then finally I come back to this. Yes, this is the sound that I want again. So that's what changed for me. Yeah.
Right.
Let me end with one last question that several people wrote in with. And it's just asking broadly about what your technique exercises are, or how you practice technique, or what your technique is.
Well, I have to say, this looks like a simple question, but it's not. I our Cuban system in Cuba is the Cuban guitar school. It was founded by Isaac Nicola, who was Emilio Pujol's student. Yeah, he went to Spain and he learned guitar. His mom, Isaac Nicola mom, Clara Romero, was a guitarist herself. Composed some nice pieces for guitar and played the guitar nicely. And then Isaac went to Spain to study with Emilio Pujol. So when Nicola came back to Cuba and when the revolution, started, they make like a system that everybody in the country has to study with the same method. The method Nicola did is a kind of photocopy from the Emilio Pujol method. Yeah. So, and I studied with this method, which is based in a lot of technique the first 2-3 years. And after 2-3 years doing scales, slurs, arpeggios, bars, is when you start playing some nice pieces. All right. And all of this stuff that they mention, some here in the middle of your hand, and many things that I disagree. They usually recommend finger in a chromatic scale, finger 1, 2, 3, hold it. Stretch your finger. The exercise practicing a chromatic scale is just holding your finger. This is crazy. And yeah, I don't think this is good at all method. Yeah, I disagree. Sorry. It's not personal, but it's personal at the same time. I mean, I think Emilio Pujol School was something very important in the moment it happens, but it was one step in the guitar evolution. After that, the guitar technique continued evolution, right? And still that is happening. And in my case, I have to say that I injured my hands, both, in 2000. And I couldn't play the guitar in 1 year. That's why I moved to Barcelona, because there were musician doctors, very famous. And I went to see if they can help me. And I stayed there for a year and a half taking treatment. And one of the things that when after half year having treatment, and I started playing again, progressively. And I had some meeting with a physician and the doctor in charge, because they want to see, actually, what the diagnostics was like I had overuse. That makes sense to you? Overuse, when you overuse something?
Yeah, you can use, it's a common diagnosis.
Okay, I didn't have tone, muscle tone. So holding something, I couldn't hold something longer. My muscle were just done because too much tension. And they say, well, let's see how you play the guitar. And we went over all the technique, all the things, starting with left hand. I used to have this left hand, with thumb down. This is Emilio Pujol school, right? From here, having thumb transitioning down with your whole hand, which make really, really hard when you are playing on first, second string, right? Anyway, we went over the whole technique in both hands, what my hands were doing while I was playing, and they say, well, don't take it wrong, but it's just the way you play. Why you got injured? you kill your muscle. And I said, no, my technique is perfect. I started this way because it's what the way I was taught, and it's what is like it's accepted for everybody. This is what this is what is classical guitar. This is what classical guitar is about. And they told me, well, we don't know anything about classical guitar, but we know about muscle. And look, and then they explained to me what all my muscle were doing when I was playing that chromatic scale. They said, look, those muscle, the extensor muscle,
Yes.
You play with you have your extensor muscle tight all the time. You never relax. But also your flexor, because you do this. I never relaxed finger. It was like the way I used to play, never relaxing any finger on left hand, but also including right hand, because I used to play like this, right? As everybody in that time, alternating, and you, when one finger goes in, the other goes out by lifting off, not by relaxing. So they explained how muscle works. And it was like oh my, it was like a mountain for me, because I thought, so how I will rebuild my technique from zero? The most intelligent, smart people, the great guitarists in the world playing this way. But I got injured and others no. But in that place, there were a lot of musicians, guitarists, a lot. So I wasn't the only one, right? It's just that now it's more common talking about this kind of thing, but in that time people keep it secret and things like that. But anyway, I didn't have choice because my muscle didn't allow me. As soon as I tried to play with tension, the sore, the pain come back. So in some point, I thought that I wasn't able to play. I won't be able to play again the guitar. I have to say, depressed for over a month or something like that, thinking, oh my, what is it's gonna be life without guitar? Yeah, it was really hard. But then, I cannot live without guitar, without music. The hard thing is, be open about possibilities. Why not? It's just a human beings. We got something and we want to do this over and over because it's how we feel comfortable, secure. And when there is something that we don't know and know, we feel fear. But my love for playing guitar was stronger than my fears and my depression. So after 1 month thinking about that and thinking, I said, well, let's try what they say. And I started from scratch. The first thing I changed was my hand position. I used to play on parallel position all the time. This, right? Playing on parallel position means that this muscle is always tight, but also here the pronator and supinator, which are the rotator muscle, make harder for both muscles, so make them tensed. So I said, okay, so this is hard. What is natural? This is natural because my arm is facing my body. My arm is not rotated. So I switch to slant position. And I remember my first guitar teacher telling me, no, it's not this, it's this. Because I first learned electric guitar and I came, with that kind of thing. And I remember my teacher in Cuba telling me, no, 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 need to be better this way. So I come back to my beginning and I say, okay, let's be natural. What is natural? This is natural. Where my thumb is, if you grab something, thumb goes up. This is natural, the grabbing motion. So I started applying everything. And then I changed my hand position and same thing on right, because I used to have this position, means with, if you have the neckline stretch, means that the extensor muscle here is tight. This is unnatural. So I just exactly, and I learned how to play from here. And I developed this technique on playing, relax, playing, because muscle has always, we need tension to make any movement. But muscle always have a stage of relaxation in between, a neutral state. And it's what I apply, just the natural how. So for me, it was just understanding how muscle works and applying to the guitar technique. And I rebuilt my technique. Yeah.
And did that rebuilding happen faster than you expected?
Well, it was like a year. It took me a year and a half, just playing a simple piece.
Yeah.
But no, I think I did a competition 2 years later and I won.
That's not so bad for rebuilding your technique.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know, when something that when I teach a student and they come with all of this tension, and you are in the position to tell them, well, you have two choices. Or you keep doing what you do, or you change. And then it's like a mountain. I know how it means. But the problem is that people think that it will take them the same amount of time that took them to get that point to rebuild technique. And that's not how it works. Because it took so long. It took me, by the time that I rebuilt my technique, I was playing over 20 years. Right? I have to say now it's 20 years since I rebuilt my technique.
Yeah, it's not a linear fixing, right? Yeah.
No,
and the brain.
Exactly, because you repeat many things without paying attention. You build wrong habits. And rebuilding technique, what I did is I just practiced what my muscle allowed me. Means I had, it's like a test telling me all the time, this is good, this is not good, this is good, not good, good, not good, 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 good. So I only did the good things. And it's something that I emphasize a lot to students is that don't allow yourself practicing with mistakes, because you are memorizing mistakes. And then you need to clean up, means spend more time cleaning. This is the wasting time.
Yeah. Well, Iliana, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, my website, ilianamatos.com. It's not there by now, but I will soon. But usually before COVID, I usually have all my schedule there. I think I will there sometime soon. Yeah, but there they can find all my recording. I have just one solo CD, but I have done many collaborations with other musicians. For example, this year I released a CD with Ponce music, with other Michael Chatelaine and Juan Carlos Laguna playing music by Ponce. And also I record a quartet CD. We will talk about that in the concert. Yeah. Yeah, but videos and recording, you can find it there on my website.
And you're also on Facebook, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I will love if you follow me, your comments, your support. That is really, really important today, right? And especially in this difficult time that we are going through, having support from the audience. And something weird on some virtual concert I have done is that I didn't have the chance to interact with the audience, but we figured out that for our concert. True?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yep.
Yes, but it's very important because when you perform in person, you have your audience, and it's a feedback going all the time, back and forth, and you myself especially, I'm so passionate that I can feel even the energy from and then the after concert is the best for me. Talking with the audience, I can stay an hour talking and talking and signing CDs or program on just listening stories about guitar. This is so uh, rich experience for me, meeting the audience. Yeah. So please follow me, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, I will appreciate it.
I'll find all of those links and I'll post it in the comments, in the description.
Thank you.
So Iliana, thank you so much. We have our concert a week from today, which is March 20th, and it's with the South Bay Guitar Society. And I'll post all of those links in the description as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Iliana, thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.